course, on Thursday night, the Ravens will get back after it again. Joe Flacco said he's looking forward to the purple uniforms. And as Luke Jones, our intrepid reporter and insider, joins us to talk all things Owings Mills in a very, very condensed week. Luke, Joe made it sound like they're going to look like the grapes in the Fruit of the Loom guys, I think. So we'll see how they look on Thursday night. But looked okay on Sunday, good enough to get a victory over the Steelers. I'm not going to sit here and beat up a win over the Steelers, that's for sure.
Well, I mean, you certainly take a win. I mean, when you've lost 5 or 4 in a row and you're trying to avoid a 5th straight loss, I mean, it's very clear. You're in get a win any way you can get it mode, and that's what the Ravens were able to do. I mean, clearly the offense didn't do much other than the 95-yard touchdown. In fact, the Ravens, after the touchdown to Mike Wallace, 49 plays for 110 yards. So it kind of shows you how big that play loomed as far as their total offensive production. But, we talked a lot about the defense. Clearly this defense might not be elite, certainly isn't up there with the 2000 defense or the 2006 group, but they've played really, really well. And the other issue that we certainly have talked about quite a bit when it hasn't been so good, but, tip your cap to the special teams. Certainly Justin Tucker has been terrific. He remains perfect on the season.
He remains the MVP of the team, right?
Yeah, which says a lot about the rest of the team, but shouldn't take anything away from how good he's been. And he should be good. I mean, the Ravens gave him all that guaranteed money for a reason, but he has certainly earned it. And then the big play, I mean, how about Chris Moore, who, hasn't exactly made a big impact as a receiver, but special team scores now in each of the last 2 games. And Buck Allen, I mean, a guy who has been a non-factor as an offensive player. I know he wants to play more offensively, but he blocks the punt, kind of talked about it after the game with saying he saw something in how they were blocking him, brought it to the attention of Jerry Rosburg, and Rosburg kind of told him go after it, and he blocks the punt and makes it what would turn into, with a 2-point conversion, a 21-0 game. So the special teams clearly played a big role. It hasn't been perfect. We've talked a lot about Devin Hester and a pretty nondescript, pretty underwhelming performance from him once again. But nice to see Justin Tucker do his thing. We take for granted.
It was windy too, by the way.
Yeah, and
it was really windy.
To get the block kick, I mean, the Ravens have done a lot of that the last couple of years, and they've needed to in the games that they have been able to win. Special teams have usually played a role, so it certainly did once again on Sunday.
Luke, for the Steelers, they look to be a shell of themselves, but this is the kind of win that's a catalyst, right? I mean, we're going to see Cleveland on Thursday, and I'll sit here and tell you, I think they're going to win Thursday. I think that they have the pedigree to do this. I don't think it's going to be easy. It's never easy with the Browns, but I think in the end, it'll still be a football game at 10:30, 10:45 on Thursday night. In the end, they'll find a way to win it, and then they get this very interesting 10-day period where the Cowboys are going to play the Steelers next week. We're going to assume that the Cowboys are just going to go up to Pittsburgh and beat the Steelers because they win on the road and they play well there, and the Steelers are scuffling. Who knows? But I do know this. They're going to see the Cowboys in 2 weeks. And this Romo-Prescott concoction, I mean, what's going on in the league is probably what's allowed the Ravens to be relevant, right? I mean, there's so much mediocrity, and you look at the Cowboys and you say, I don't think they're a 14-win team. Well, who's going to go beat them? And the Ravens are going to get their opportunity, provided they get through this Cleveland game here the next couple of days, and probably do it with a little bit of rest. I thought that the Ravens walked out of the locker room, and I was there to witness a lot of that. I mean, because I kind of hung around a little later than I usually do on Sunday with Niels being in town and my wife, and talked to more players. They came out of this well. I mean, this was not the body bag Steelers game you usually get, and going into it with the problems that they had and having that horrific moment where Flacco leaped off the field, and I'm in the upper deck thinking, oh my God, and it turned out Steve Smith looked okay, Suggs looked okay, Mosley looked better than okay, Yanda, Stanley still a work in motion, but there's a lot to recommend them getting better here and getting more rested toward the weekend if they can get through this Cleveland game.
Yeah, I mean, I really, and as I wrote at WNST.net, I'm really liking this defense. I mean, it's not perfect, and certainly I saw so many people harping on the fact that they gave up 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. And keep in mind, this is a Steelers offense that was dreadful on Sunday, but I still think is a good offense overall. I think in the big picture, that's going to be their strength, and I'm not sold on their defense, even though they held the Ravens to in check, other than the one big play to Mike Wallace. But I think for the Ravens, you like where they are from a health standpoint with their defense, other than Elvis Dumervil, and we'll see how this goes with him. I mean, I'm guessing we won't see him in a short week against Cleveland. We'll see how much closer he might get to getting back on the field. But you're right. I mean, Suggs acknowledged that the bicep's not going to be 100%. He acknowledged that it bothered him as the game went on. In fact, there was one point in the game where he took himself out, and you could see he was kind of pointing to it and was laboring. But beyond that, as you said, Mosley looked good. I think the defense you feel good about. The offense, it's healthier. I don't know if I can say much more beyond that as far as how it looked. I think you can hope that the offensive line will gel more now that it's all back together and healthy. But these Thursday games are just weird. I mean, the reality is, we know this Cleveland team's terrible. They're 0-9. To their credit, before Sunday, you could kind of say, for the most part, other than when they played New England, that they had been pretty competitive. I mean, certainly they gave the Ravens everything they could handle. They lost a close one in Miami. They were kind of back and forth with the Redskins and lost to them. They were a close loss to Tennessee. But on Sunday, playing at home against Dallas, the Cowboys overwhelmed them. And now the Browns are looking at an 0-10 start, which would be the worst in team history. So, a short week. I'm with you. This will probably be ugly. It'll be uneven. The Browns have typically, even in some of their worst years here recently, have played the Ravens relatively tough. But at the same time,
they can't stop the run, man. If this offensive line could just get going a little bit, get West going a little bit. Whoever's carrying the ball, Dixon, Buck, whoever carries the ball, they need to run the ball on Thursday. I make this a short game, get it over with, and get some rest and get ready for the rest of the year. Because they have a real season right now. They win this game on Thursday, they're going to be in a first-place position for the Steelers to really stub their toe next week. The Bengals are a mess to begin with. It really puts them in a nice spot. Now, I know the schedule stuff, but this is smelling a lot better than it smelled, 72 hours ago, right? For sure.
Yeah, well, we just talked about the importance of this win. No matter how it looked, they
feels
had
like
to win
3 wins, right? Doesn't it? Sort of, kind of, right?
I don't know if I go that far. I think it.
From a mindset of the season's over with to, oh my God, we could win the division. They put themselves in a good position. That's for sure.
Well, they did, but going back to your point about running the ball, I just. Until this offense starts showing that they can do it, I'm just going to assume they're not going to. Pittsburgh had been gashed with the running game the last 2 weeks, and the Ravens couldn't do anything other than their first couple drives. They ran the ball okay, and then after that, not much. But it's just this is going to be probably a tough one on the eyes, as most Thursday night games are around the league, because it's a terrible product. Talking Thursday night games in general.
Oh.
But get a win. Whether it's 13-10 or 20-14 or whatever it is.
And no style points on Thursday. Everybody put your report card down for Thursday. Whatever happens, as long as they fly the W, as they say, it's a good win on Thursday night for sure.
Yeah, get a win and get out of it with relatively good health. And I think what you said is a good point about the health. Kenneth Dixon left the game with a chest contusion. Did not return. But let's face it, hasn't exactly given them near the impact that many people were hoping, including myself, before the season. Haven't seen the same guy that looks so explosive in the preseason. So, this offense is just a complete work in progress right now. It's flashed from time to time, I guess. And certainly you love seeing what Mike Wallace was able to do with the 95-yard touchdown. But, it's just, I have a tough time being optimistic about the offense. We keep talking about if they can do this, if they can do this, and, it just hasn't come together. And, they haven't exactly played a bunch of great defenses here over the last month or so. So we'll see. But again, this Cleveland team, you kind of got the sense. Again, as silly as it is to compliment what was an 0-8 football team, prior to Sunday's game against Dallas, they had been pretty competitive in all but 2 or 3 of those losses. and they
had the Ravens down 20-0. That's pretty competitive,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. I mean,
if you're wondering how Thursday's going to go, they were losing 20-0 last time. So, we're not going to write the Browns. I'm not just mailing this one in. I mean, I expect them to win. I hope they're going to win, but I don't just roll out the ball. I don't think it's going to be that easy.
Yeah, and I mean, the Ravens just haven't put together a complete performance that makes you think that's going to happen against anyone right now. Now, it very well could at some point, and I'm not saying it never will happen, but, until they do it, again, I'm going to expect that probably not going to run the ball especially well, and passing game's probably going to look disjointed as it's typically looked, but, you get wins. This is the same as when we talked about the fact when they were 3-0, and we were talking about the eyeball test not being very good at that point in time, and that kind of proved to be right because they lost their next 4 games. But get this win, get yourself to 5-4. You get the little mini bye. Hopefully, you're in pretty good shape from a health standpoint. At that point, you're hoping that Elvis Dumerville maybe after that is getting closer to getting back on the field, and meanwhile, you look for more young guys to continue to step forward. I mean, we've talked about it with the likes of Tavon Young. Matt Judon has come on here somewhat, and you're looking for some more young guys, more of these young guys to step forward and help out some of these veteran players. So, it's you never apologize for a win, and as ugly as the offense was after the touchdown on Sunday, and it was. I mean, you look at that fourth quarter. Everyone's talking about the defense giving up 2 touchdowns. The offense, no first downs, 2 total yards in the fourth quarter. I mean, you got to be able to, your 4-minute drive, 6-minute drive, whatever you want to talk about in terms of being able to run some clock and move the chains a few times and really, close out a win, and they weren't able to do that. So, we know this is a very flawed football team right now, but the good news is everyone else in this division is flawed, and they're playing the most flawed team of all in all of football with the Cleveland Browns coming to town on Thursday. So, from that standpoint, the Ravens should feel pretty good about themselves. Still have a lot of work to do, still plenty of questions. We know what the schedule looks like as they get into the second half, but I think it's very clear. I think Pittsburgh is a better team than what they showed on Sunday, but it's very clear that they're not looking like they're in a position where they're going to be running away with anything either. It's going to be a 3-team race, 3 mediocre teams as it stands through Week 9, but we'll see if the cream rises to the top, or if everyone kind of just kind of languishes through the second half, and it'll be maybe a war of attrition with the last team standing. Who knows, 9-7, whatever it might be, to win this division.
He is Luke Jones. He covers all things Ravens during a short week. We get ready for the Cleveland Browns on Thursday night. Of course, my wife, Stoner Niels, is in town. You'll be following along on our Twitter and our Facebook and our LinkedIn and our social media everywhere. Last thing for you, Luke, some curious doings around the league. I mean, Minnesota, Philadelphia, just when you buy in, even Green Bay, they stink. I mean, all these teams on any given day, they're a 500 team. They're a field goal away. We talk about the competitiveness, of the league. But the Eagles lose on the road to a nondescript Giants game in a sort of a we thought the Eagles were good. I don't know. Maybe I was wrong in thinking that. And obviously with Minnesota, they're a disaster right now with the offensive coordinator situation and where they are. Yeah,
I mean, right now, you look at this league, who do you think's really good? New England looks great. Dallas, whether you think they're going to go 14-2, I don't think that, but the results speak for themselves. They have a fantastic offensive line. Zeke Elliott's been huge for them. Dak Prescott's been one of the great stories that this league's seen over the last few years, quite frankly. And we'll see how the Romo thing plays out. I mean, Jerry Jones probably will screw it up, but that's still a team at 7-1. It speaks for itself. You have some other teams that I think have looked good. I think Atlanta's pretty good. I think you look at this AFC West. I mean, Kansas City's won 4 in a row at this point. You got to give them some credit. Oakland and Denver, with the Sunday night.
They played
battle.
a nice game Sunday. I mean, they're both good teams to me. I mean,
I
look at Oakland and Denver, and I'm like, if the Ravens get to 9-7 or 10 and whatever it's going to be to win this division, they're going to see these teams. They're going to see Oakland and Denver. They're going to be playing football in January, to my mind.
Yeah, I mean, that AFC West right now, I mean, it's hard not to imagine the 2 wild cards coming out of that division at this point. Now, a lot can change, and we still have, a lot of teams still have 8 games left to play. So lots of football left. But, you look at these other divisions, Miami, they've won 3 straight, but are you buying the Dolphins? I'm not. The Bills have been very up and down and mostly down in how they've looked. We've talked about the North, the AFC South. I mean, Houston's okay. A nice win for Indianapolis on Sunday, but they're 4-5. I mean, Tennessee, I think, has some intrigue for the future as far as that football team goes, but they're clearly not a team that you're afraid of at this point. So, this AFC is New England, the AFC West after that, and then everyone else. I mean, that's what it feels like right now. And then in the NFC, you have Dallas and maybe Atlanta and Seattle. I think is going to be good, but their offense hasn't been firing on all cylinders. So you're right, and Minnesota, that 5-0 start looks fraudulent at this point. I mean,
and their defense was really good in the beginning, and even that's sort of getting chipped away at now, especially in an overtime
it's still a good
loss.
defense, but it's not Denver of last year good. I don't think anyway. But at the very least, their offense isn't nearly good enough. So they clearly have missed Adrian Peterson. I mean, when you have some of the guys that they've had trying to run the football, I mean, it's not going to work out for you. So it's a whole. To me, New England's the class of the NFL right now. Dallas is a hair or two below them, and then you have a handful of teams that I think are good, not great, and then there's a lot of mediocrity after that. A lot of mediocrity in both conferences, and the Ravens fall into that category right now, and we'll see if they can get a little bit better here over the next few weeks.
Well, they're going to have to because they're going to see those teams on the road, right? I mean, literally.
We've talked about it. I mean, knowing what that final month looks like, the Ravens need to be in a position where they're no worse than 7-5 going into that final month. I mean, if they're 6-6 going into December, forget it. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen. If they're 7-5, they're still going to have to play really well in the final month, but they'll at least have themselves in a position where they can certainly take care of business against Philadelphia in that home game, and then see if you can steal one of those 3 road games at a minimum, and have yourself at 9-7. You do that, might be good enough to win this division. But in the meantime, they got to take advantage of this stretch. We talked about it a lot coming out of the bye. 4 out of 5 at home. They're 1-0 in that stretch so far, and they better be 2-0 come midnight on Thursday.
He is Luke Jones. You can follow his journey at Baltimore Luke on Twitter, as well as Luke at WNST.net. You can find me out in the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault all week long. For anything you miss here, it is easily downloadable and podcastable. Listen when you want, where you want, how you want. Just download that TuneIn Radio app. We come in crystal clear. It's all brought to you by BuyAToyota.com. Morning newspaper ships to you each and every morning at 7 a.m. Brought to you by Planet Fitness. And, of course, our tech service will have breaking news first for you. That's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Dennis will be here driving you home Thursday from 3 until 5, getting you ready for the Ravens and the Browns. And what a difference a week makes when the Ravens win on the back end of the bye against the Steelers. It feels good around here. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. Facebook, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on Facebook Live, as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. Follow our journey. Niels is here in America all week. We're having some fun. If you're following us out in social media, you know what we're talking about. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.